Hi, my name is Todd Peterson. I'm a product marketing manager on the Quest One Identity Solutions team here at Quest Software. Today we're going to talk about privileged account management. Anyone who's listening to this whiteboard obviously knows you have lots of privileged accounts in your environment. Why do we have those accounts? These super user accounts that can give people access to do anything and everything they need to do. Well, frankly, it's because you have to have them in order to be managing IT systems. These are often called the keys to the kingdom. The problem is we've got too many to manage. You have one for Windows. You have the root account for every single Unix and Linux server that you've got. You've got one for this application. You've got a database account. You've got that application. So you could conceivably have dozens or hundreds or even thousands of privileged accounts, super user accounts across your entire environment. Problem with these is they don't match. The things you can do in a root account are different. The management of root account is much different than the management of a Windows administrator account or a DBA account or this application's account or that application's account. So you have different teams doing different processes on different super user accounts across the entire environment. Another major problem is natively these types of accounts rarely give you the visibility you need to actually know that they're being used appropriately, which is a major concern for compliance. You need to prove your compliance often, and without knowing what's going on with these accounts, it's very, very difficult. So you have super users. Okay? Often you'll have multiple super users across a number of systems. If you have a team of Unix administrators, 5 Unix administrators and 100 Unix servers, you're going to have 5 people that are sharing the root account across 100 different root accounts across all those servers. Same thing for your Windows admins, your Active Directory admins, your database admins, and all that. So typically what most organizations do, because these accounts are so important to do the work necessary, is they will share them. A number of people will have this password. To make things easier, the password is rarely changed. So what happens when somebody leaves the organization? They take the password with them. It's when you run into trouble like Fannie Mae ran into or like UBS ran into, because an administrator with an account that gave them super access left the organization and that access was never turned off. So how do you solve this problem? Well, first and foremost, you never allow people to share the account. You do that through an appliance called a password vault. It's a hardened appliance that's placed on the network, gives you absolute security and management of the entire range of super user passwords. That could be on devices such as routers, any application, Active Directory, Windows, servers, Unix, Linux servers, Mac workstations, databases, and even mainframes. So whatever has a super user account, you can store it and manage it through this password vault. So it covers the entire range of your environment. What that allows you to do is automate the request, the approval, the issuance, and the change of that password. So here's a scenario. I'm an administrator on a database. The database has an issue on the weekend. I need to get the administrative account so that I can fix this problem. Normally that account is shared, and so I just automatically have it, but the guy who left the company a year ago still has it as well, and so we changed it and it's a big mess. So what I have to do is call my boss, and he goes to hit the safe, pulls out the binder, gives me the password, I use it, give it back to him, he changes it, locks it back up in the safe. Totally inefficient, really not very that secure. So what the password vault does is automates that whole process. Policy is pre-established that says if it's this time of day, in this situation, with this person asking for this administrative account for this reason, we will allow it. Or we will allow it if so-and-so approves it. The password vault will issue that password, approve it based on the policy, or maybe email my boss and he has to approve it manually, and then issue me the password. I use the password. It tracks how long I had the password out for. When I return it, it then immediately changes it so I can't take it out and use it again. It would have to be another request. As I mentioned, that covers everything within your enterprise. Now that's fine and good for those times when you need the super user account, but there's a lot of work that has to happen that you don't necessarily want that much power in a single person's hand. That's when we use delegation tools. One that's very popular and very common in the Unix world is called sudo. It stands for super user do. It's a delegation tool that comes with every single Unix and Linux operating system and is installed ubiquitously across the whole world that allows you to delegate how much of the Unix root account somebody can use. So imagine that I need to reset a password. I don't need the entire sudo account. I'm going to just have enough to reset a password. Somebody else wants to back up a database, same thing. Problem with sudo is it's installed on every single server that you've got. And the policy files that determine what I'm able to do are repeated on every single server and managed separately. Change it one place, have to go to the next place and make the same change. Very difficult to manage. And there's no oversight. There's no view of what I actually do with those rights. So as of this year, sudo version 1.8 is now a pluggable architecture. Quest Software is the first vendor to offer plugins to add value to sudo. So for very inexpensive, you can add a central policy server onto sudo. That means that when you create the sudo policy file once, it can then be pushed out to every single server. So you have a central policy server. Also then you can add the ability to do keystroke logs. Watch what people are doing and replay that information, find when errors occurred or somebody did something that they should not have done. So that's one way to address this. There are still limitations in sudo though. You may have some super highly secure Unix or Linux servers that are going to need more than that. For those, you can add a heavier weight delegation and keystroke logging functionality that's going to give you the stuff that your auditors are really going to need on those most important servers. Another thing that you'll want to do is, as you use the password vault or as you use any of these delegation tools, you're going to want to monitor what's happening, a session audit. Think of somebody watching over the shoulder of somebody doing their job. The same appliance that offers a password vault gives you the ability to monitor what goes on devices, on web applications, in Active Directory, on Unix and Linux, on some databases, and even on mainframes. So you have this holistic approach to privileged account management that gives you the functionality to issue securely and efficiently the administrator credential when the full superuser credential is needed, the granular delegation of specific pieces of that credential on Unix and Linux systems and also in Active Directory, the ability to watch what's going on across a number of systems, and then even the very granular and audit-ready keystroke logs on these Unix and Linux systems that give you a complete view of your privileged account management needs and a complete control over those things. Quest is the only vendor that offers this complete spectrum of privileged account management. So what you get from this approach is absolutely the access control needs that every compliance regulation demands. You're able to enforce separation of duties across all of your administrative accounts. You're able to prove compliance by watching what people are doing and reporting on it, searching it, that type of thing. And you streamline operations because you're no longer relying on ad hoc manual processes. You've got automation and centralized management of these policies. So if you have any needs around privileged account management, I encourage you to learn more by visiting us on the web at quest.com/identity-management. Thanks.